Jobb og kalle forsamlingen til ny arbeidsøkt. There will now be a shift not only in language but also in perspective. I hope everybody enjoyed the lunch, maybe had a breath of fresh air in the beautiful weather outside. But there is a shift now also from a focus on the Norwegian case to the broader international perspective. And in fact, it's a great pleasure, even an honor, for me to introduce our next speaker. President Dale DeLillo from Training Resource Network Florida is one of the true veterans in this field. He has been working for 35 years with supported employment. His experience is impressive. And I think that we couldn't have a more competent speaker to address the core of the issue, how to match people, how they are, with workplaces in the real economy. And why is it that so much knowledge about these challenges are so hard to put into practice? What are the barriers? So, Dale, again, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening. I'm still not sure what time it is after arriving from the United States, but thank you for inviting me. Always a pleasure to come here. It's been 20 years since I've last seen Oslo, and it's changed a lot in those 20 years. Very excited to speak with you today, and again, I thank you for the invite because it was a nice reason to get away from the presidential elections in the United States, which scare us as much as it scares you, I'm sure. But I'm not here to talk about that, thankfully. I want to talk to you about the role of employment and how important it is for so many people who have difficulty with getting access to work for lots of different reasons, and what it means to people. And we've done some early research on this, and the answers are pretty much the same for everybody. When we ask the question, why do you have a job? What do you think the first answer is when we ask, why do you have a job? Anybody? It's after lunch, I know, but... Income. Okay, so I'm not sure if I heard you right, but money is usually the answer people give for the first answer. Why do we have a job? Why is it important? And of course, it being the most prominent answer, we then look around at ourselves and we realize that we are all from human services. How much money are we making? So maybe we didn't pick the best job if money was the main reason why we work. But as you know, there are lots of other reasons why we work, and this would explain what it is that we do. Things like social identity and status and relationships, learning new skills, the meaning of the work, a chance to contribute, accomplishment. You know, work becomes our membership card in our culture. And in most cultures, one of the first things people are asked is why, when they meet you, what do you do? What do you do? Okay, and to say I'm unemployed, people aren't that interested in talking to you at a new party or meeting somebody new. Having a job is part of establishing who we are and what kind of identity we have. So for people in particular who have challenges to work and already have stigmas because of disability or label or some other sort of thing that stigmatizes them in some way, this becomes even more important. The thing about employability that we've learned over the last 30, 40 years that I've been involved in is that employment isn't something that is a magic line that you cross. You're not unemployable yesterday and employable today because of magic training or preparation or education. Everybody is employable. It's not a milestone to reach. Now, you can improve your employability in lots of different ways. But we go by the premise that right now, all people are employable. Is it challenging for some people? You bet, it's very challenging for some people. But for the most part, we make the assumption that everybody can do something productive and be paid for it. What does relate to success from our studies is how well the job matches who the person is and what they like to do and how well they can do it, and how much support they get on the job to succeed on the job. So more importantly than any pre-training, any readiness training, it is really how well we've matched and supported the person that translates to job success. People are more employable when they have more skills, experiences, and social connections, or what we call social capital. Now, the more people you know and the more connections you have, the greater your network and the more able you are to solve problems and get to work and handle crises and get help when you need it. All those things become very, very important. So, you already heard a little bit about this, the train place model, which is the way I was brought up back in 1970, 1980, going to school, learning how to help people with jobs, which basically said, well, you've got to give them skills before anybody will hire them. And we learned after a while that that's simply not true. What happens when you do that is that you have to then separate people of certain kinds of issues in order to train them. And that produces segregation. That also produces what we call stagnation. People don't ever get chances to get out of where they were placed. It becomes very difficult, and our research shows, in fact, for a first study we did of this, once you're in a place getting ready to train you, in the United States, it took an average of over 55 years to get out. So if you turn age 22 and you get out of school, whatever the age is here, you are now 77 years old and ready for a job. Seems to me at that point, you might be ready to give up. So there's a lot of problems with train in place. It can be stigmatizing, it can be separate, segregationist, it can lock you into things, and most people don't end up in good quality jobs. So back in 1980, supported employment was this new idea to get out of what we saw then as sheltered workshops. Now, I'm not here to tell you all the bad things about sheltered workshops, because you have to know something about me. I ran a sheltered workshop in the 1980s. In a little town in New Hampshire, we had about 60 people in the workshop. And I realized right away I had a problem. We had an opening in our workshop, and a parent came in with her son and said, we want my son to go to this workshop. It's a very good reputation workshop. And we tested him and decided he really wasn't ready for our workshop. He had toileting issues, and he had other kinds of issues and behavior issues, and he's not ready yet. You need to work on these things. So they went away, and about 6 months later, we had another opening, and they came right back. He said, we want him to come back. You have another opening. Well, what's he been doing? I've been working on some of the issues. Well, we haven't gotten them solved, but we got tired of having him around the house, so we got him a job. My workshop was designed to get people jobs. We said no to him because he wasn't ready for the workshop. He now has a job. Does that make anybody wonder what we're doing? At this point, I realize maybe there's a better way to do this. Maybe we're following these rules and policies a little too closely, and they have nothing to do with reality, because the reality is you can get people jobs when you are networked and when you match them well and when you have a connection with the employer, and lots of other reasons. Maybe we're just not doing this right. So over the next 2 years, we got everybody out of that workshop, and we closed the workshop. This was in 1982. Today in the United States, there's about a half dozen states that will no longer fund shelter workshops. The United States federal government has 2 federal lawsuits against 2 states because of over-reliance on sheltered workshops. Clearly, our movement in the United States is to get people out of buildings and into their community, not just sitting home, not just out of institutions, but being a part of their community. And what's being a part of your community? Having a job well matched to who you are and what you want to do and what you're capable of doing. But that isn't easy either, is it? So, why we know about workshops, I'm going to use my friend Bob Samir, who was here last year, in fact, at this conference, to tell you a little bit about his research. We knew this wasn't a good idea, but we knew it anecdotally. But now, Robert did some great studies that showed that every time we put somebody in a workshop, it cost us more money, and they were less likely to eventually get a job, which makes you wonder, why do we do it to begin with? He then went on to match people based on all the demographics, their gender and their age and their IQ and all of that kind of stuff. And what he found was, when he compared people in supported employment or sheltered work, participation in sheltered workshops reduces hours of work and amount of wages. So what can we do? You can reduce the time and the costs and improve your outcomes by skipping that step completely. This is not what our providers wanted to hear in the United States. We have a whole system, 3,000 sheltered workshops in the United States alone. We have boards of directors and families. We have policymakers. We have funding streams. This was going against everything we had set up. And so, over the last 20, 25 years, it's been a long struggle to move away from one set of approaches to another. So what did we replace this with? Well, we replaced it with what was called place and train. Except that that was proving to be a bit of a problem too. When you place and train, it's awfully hard to find good placements. It's awfully hard to train. It doesn't ensure people of its success. And when we did placements into a job, a lot of times those persons were isolated within the job, because our approach to placing people has its own set of what we would call artificialness, not natural to the work setting. I mean, we come in with what we call, I don't know what you call them here, but job coaches is what we call our direct service staff in the States. So that you have a disability, or you have a psychiatric disability, or you have a criminal history, or you have some other reason, and now you're showing up, and who's there to introduce you to everybody and to train you? A job coach. And the workers and the employers are, what is this? I didn't get a job coach. Who are you? Why are you here? Do you have a whistle? Are you going to go rah-rah? What is that? We don't understand. It was very different. And so, who trains the new worker? The job coach. So who does the new worker get to know the best? The job coach. So what happens when the new worker learns the job? The job coach goes away. And what do you have left is an isolated person. So we realized right away that this was also a problem. Because I don't know if you had this experience, because I was a job coach at one time. And we train and we train. The person has it down. We say, great job, we'll leave you. And they're like, where are you going? You know, oh, you're doing good, you'll be fine. And we leave. And about a week later, you get a call. You better get back in here quick. What's wrong? He's locked himself in the bathroom. He's taken all his clothes off. He's screaming and yelling. We don't know what to do. So who comes in on the white knight? I'm here to save the day. Oh, where you been? I missed you. I know how to get you back. And so the model was better because we got more jobs, people were earning more money, they had more connections, but it still wasn't real. And our standard should be, what is normal, what is real? Not that people have to have everything the exact same way depending on their situation, they need support. But when we add too much artificialness into situations like this does, it creates issues and problems. Which is why we began to look at other ways of approaching it. And of course, one of the biggest problems is getting people jobs in this place-train approach, because it's not an even match. people are out there looking for jobs, and they have a lot of experience, and they have a lot of skills, and they have a lot of energy, and they have a lot of range of things they can do. And we don't have maybe those numbers of skills and experience. And so that is hard to beat. When you have a job, a person looking for a job, and they can't match up with all the other people coming in for the interview, right? You had that experience? Just nod your head, tell me you're listening. Okay. So, this approach, and believe me, it's not in stone, it's probably going to change again over the next few years as we learn more. That's the important thing. What do we do to plan? What does planning involve? Well, it's getting to know the person, it's getting to know the business, it's figuring out what the person wants to do, good at, like to do, what experiences they have, what does the business need, what kind of hiring trends are we facing? It's planning the environment, both about the person and the business community. Why? Because you're going to be the matchmaker. And matching is, what can we do to make this thing succeed? What has to be in place? Job coaching, natural supports, some training, some transportation, better clothing? We don't know, because it's almost impossible to predict. You never know what the culture of a workplace is looking for, because each workplace culture is very unique. And then the support. Skill training? Maybe. Social skill training? Maybe. Supervisor training? Maybe. Equipment? Accommodations? Again, we don't know. The point being, as we go through this process, we will learn what we need to do to make the best match under the best circumstances with the support that's needed to make it work. And even then, you're not guaranteed success, because people will do the most unpredictable things you could ever think of. And that's okay. You're all guilty of that at one time or another too, probably. So what's nice about this is, instead of facing off against people in a giant recruitment where you get all resumes and interviews and you're unknown, you dwell on possibility, and you're evaluated by your potential, because you've already been screened. You've already been discovered and learned about. So instead of this faceless pool where the employer is looking at a group, we are presenting a person, Roberta. This is a person with a history. This is a person with skills, with a personality. Once you meet her, you will see why she will be a good fit. Why? Because we have screened, we have learned, we have discovered, and we know there are things she can do for you at this business, and she will be motivated to get them done, and we've figured out some transportation issues, and we know what kind of support you're looking for, and we are going to make this work. And there's no cost to you, by the way. That's a whole different presentation to a business. And it's why it seems to work so well, because Roberta is seen for who she is, not her label, not her disability, not her psychiatric condition, not her history, not her whatever is getting in the way. And that's so important, that we step out of the labels. I still hear this happen with job coaches or job developers. Well, tell me about Tom. Tom has cerebral palsy with autism and is unable to speak, and whoa, how do you introduce somebody? You know, we use these labels, and believe me, these labels, in our country, the words are scary. We don't just have mental illness, we have severe and chronic mental illness. Severe and chronic. You think of scarier words? We don't have intellectual disability, we have profound intellectual disability. You think at my interview, I come from an Italian family from many generations ago, so Dale, tell me about yourself. I am severely Italian. Profoundly Polish. I don't know what would work for Norwegian, but the labels have to be getting away. And so what happens here is we balance it out, because we present people as an individual, and we can overcome some of those other factors. Now, we may have to what's called customize the job and make it look a little different than what the employer originally had thought, and that's part of our talent, is making sure we can make the employer understand that customizing a job is in her or his best interest, because we will get this done. Make it happen. So, what this means is we're matching skills and interests to work and settings. We have to know the employer, we have to know the job seeker. And when we do that, we get flexibility and personalized. So what you're starting to sense, and what I hope you understand, is we're moving from these models that say you do it this way because this is the way you do it, to people and businesses that say you do it this way, we learn about the person, we'll help the person fit into how you do it this way. It depends on the business. It depends on the person. It's a much more respectful approach because people don't often fit into the models. But what challenges us is we are in systems that fund the model. And so we have to oftentimes figure out how to do the work we need to do and still fill out the paperwork and get the funding and make our bosses happy. That is the challenge with our business. So when I say plan, let's look at this process. It's several steps. Okay, discovery, profile development, customized employment plan, job development, job analysis, negotiation, job success. Discovery is learning about the person, and we have all kinds of trainings and whatnot to teach people what that involves, which is visiting the person, finding out what they're good at, understanding their aptitudes, their skill sets, their motivation, family support. It's learning what it is the person's going to bring to the job so that they will be motivated and well-matched to succeed. Profile development is to help them represent themselves during the job search. Do they have a resume? Do they have a packet? Do they have achievements? Do they have references? Do they have photos of themselves working and showing what they're capable of doing? Do they understand how to answer interview questions? All right, that's a whole nother set of preparation. A customized employment plan is, this is what I'm looking for. It's not in stone. It's not the only thing that's going to work, but a range of things. I want to work outdoors using equipment where I can be around some other people, but I want to do this and that, and I don't like it when it's too quiet. It gives you some guidance about what it is the person wants. Job development then only starts to happen, because now we're not just going and knocking on doors, which I don't know how many job developers are here. Isn't that the hardest job in the world? I always can pick them out because they have bad posture. They've been knocking on doors and they just, no, it's like, and then finally you find a job and we see you coming back and you're all happy and like, find a job, yes! And so what do? We're in human services, we call a meeting. Everybody into the conference room, did you find a job? Yes, what is it? It's McDonald's, hey, McDonald's! Who gets the McDonald's job? Terry, because his parents are going to sue us if we don't get him a job. Terry's going to McDonald's! And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our job match. Sad, but sometimes true. So this kind of job development is a little different. Okay? We know what we're looking for, and we know who we're going to approach, and we're going to do some research on it, and the kinds of jobs that we're going to do, and we're going to kind of pave the way for someone to actually get that interview. Once a job offer is in the cards, we negotiate around how to customize it. Is there equipment needed? Is there any kind of accommodation, extra time needed to learn, support from the supervisor? Do we need to train, sign languages? Or what is it that we need? And that's all part of job analysis and figuring out how it's going to work. And then job success. And job success is only defined by what do we have to do to make this thing work and the employer happy and the person happy. And that can go in many different directions. It's whatever you need to do to make it work. So again, career planning happens before job development because we want to know all these things before we start knocking on doors. When you're just knocking on doors, you have a job, you have a job. We call that cold calling. It's not a very good way because you get jobs basically nobody wants or won't fit, and it's a very difficult thing to do. This way, discovery leads to possibility. So there is a connection, and again, we do a whole lot of training on teaching human service agencies to market in a business-like way, which is a whole other topic. Okay, we want to present the business case for diversification of the workforce. Why does this make sense for you as a business person? Okay, and I have all kinds of examples of how poorly we do this because we end up displaying people as having problems as opposed to having production and resources. So marketing is a whole other issue. So discovery, there's three main components: experiences, skills, and interests. And by experiences, what have you done? What have you done that you'd like to do? What does that tell us about who you are? Skills, this person loves to organize things. Well, that might translate to filing, that might translate to a library setting, that might translate to retail stocking, office mail. We have possibilities here. We don't know which one makes the most sense, but we know organization and these things will work out well. And then if there's actually interests in a certain area, we'll match those interests to possible locations where people can do things. Now, what this brings up generally is people's ideas and dreams about their lives are to be respected. However, if you've had any experience in asking people, if you could choose anything you'd want to do, what would it be? Well, you're going to get all kinds of answers, and some of those might be challenging for you. I want to be a rock star. You have no musical talent. Have you seen some of the rock bands? It doesn't matter. I want to be a rock star. I want to be the head chef. I had a particular example with this one where we had an individual who told us clearly she wanted to work in a very fine restaurant. And so we said, but we've never seen you cook. How do we know that would work? And she said, come to the house tonight. And she lived in a group home at the time. I will cook you dinner, and everybody else can go out for pizza. You come, and I'll make you dinner. So a couple of us said, okay, fine. We showed up at 6 o'clock, and we noticed it was smelling through the door, this horrific burnt smell. And we knew we had a problem there. And so we opened the door, and she said, oh, come on in. I think it's done. And the reason she knew it was done is because the smoke detector was going off, and that was her timer, and burned everything. It was terrible. But she still wanted that dream of, I want to work in a fine restaurant. And so one of the people we knew the owner of a very fine French restaurant in town, and we approached the chef and had her meet this woman, Jane, who really couldn't cook. And they hit it off right away. And she started Jane off doing salad preparation, right? Chopping lettuce. It's pretty hard to screw up chopping lettuce. So she cut up the lettuce and got the salad prep going. And what happened was Jane would make things at home and bring them in to the chef. And again, they were inedible, biscuits that were hard as rocks. She once made the chef a carrot cake with a whole raw carrot in the middle of the cake, because she thought that's how carrot cake is made, with the green stuff still on the carrot. And the chef said, what's that? And she said, that's the cake handle, so you can hold the cake. So the chef just thought she was a riot. And they formed a bond like you wouldn't believe. She's been working there like a dozen years now, and she's graduated to dessert preparation. And what she really loves is wearing her chef outfit and the hat and doing whatever she needs to do. She still can't cook. That will never happen. And we were never capable of getting her ready and train her to cook. What happened was she is in a place she loves with people who love her, and they're giving her the things she is capable of doing, and she is succeeding. You can't make that happen in a model. You have to kind of go with what you need to do to make this work for this person. So, I want to be a sports star. I want to be the boss. And then my favorite one, somebody told me I want to be your boss. Okay. I live in Florida, right near Cape Canaveral, where we launched the rockets. And so we get people who say they want to be astronauts. And we had this one guy from Jacksonville, Florida, who told us he wanted to either fly a rocket or fly an airplane. This is a gentleman, again, with epilepsy and cerebral palsy, on a lot of medication. There's no way he was getting a pilot's license. But we introduced him to a lot of people who did love to fly. And there's a picture of him jumping out an airplane. And I tell people he's strapped to his job coach and scared the heck out of him. Because that could be in your job description, you understand. So what does that mean? Well, who's he hanging out with? People who love flying and airplanes. He's got a job at the airport. And this is what he loves to do. Okay? And so it's getting people to approach their dream, recognizing the dream, not promising you can do anything, but saying, I understand you, let's learn why it's so important to you, and let's help you realize getting close to that as best we can. And that's respectful. Another way of self-representation is the portfolio. We ask people to put together a portfolio with our help, and we include all kinds of things there. We want their resume in there, we want photos, we want videos, we want work samples, certificates, references, so that when they go to self-represent, it's not just me talking or you talking. It's a tool to help them show, because a lot of times we need to communicate beyond the verbal. We also believe there's another way to do resumes for people who have either bad work histories or lack of work histories or poor communication skills. And that is the visual resume. This is a one-page sample of a very simple business resume that's a visual one. I don't know if this will work, let's see, but may not be able to touch that screen to do that. There we go. Thank you. That'll just show you a little bit about, maybe it won't. Okay, well, it's just another visual resume. We'll go back to that. Didn't want to do it. And a visual resume basically is clickable. You take a PowerPoint, you set up a few pages, and you can click on skills, interests, capabilities, and it's all image. So it doesn't have to be wordy, and it can demonstrate who people are. And there are templates available that we make available and others that make available. And it's a very powerful tool. All right, so getting on to on-the-job support. Once we have the job and we have it well matched, the question is, what do we do to make this succeed? And we've learned that there's several different things in there. And for me, when I first started out, I thought the most important thing was getting work performance up to the level the employer expected. Is that important? Of course that's important, right? You have to do that. What I underestimated, though, was the social side of that. Turns out social skills are a much better indicator of job failure or job success. Even people who work hard, if they're getting their coworkers angry, or their boss angry, or they're not fitting in some way, they're in danger, grave danger of losing their job. So our initial work was focused on training, right? Go in and train. And all our training ended up stigmatizing person, giving them tools that made them look different, maybe getting them up to speed, but they weren't fitting in socially, as I said before. So to look at it differently, we have to look at social skills. We also have to look at, again, being careful not to label people based on their issues. So if there's behaviors getting in the way, if there's poor stamina, health concerns, those are negatives. And what we train people to do is reframe those as needs. So if you're talking about somebody who has mobility issues, we go in and say, what can we do to improve access? If there's somebody who has a learning problem, what kinds of instructional techniques will work for this person in this training? If there's somebody with health concerns, what kind of medical monitoring do we need to set up? So if the person has a seizure, so if the person needs this, if they need this, what can we do? Person doesn't have good stamina, how can we task design so that they have the ability to rest intermittently and not tire out? Again, one is labeling, the other is solving. And our paperwork, because of the funding approaches we have, tends to reinforce the labeling. You get this money because this person's in bad shape. What we need to do is then turn that around and present people to themselves and to employers that this is what you're going to need to succeed, and here's how we're going to do it for you, or you're going to do it with us. Make sense? Nod your head. Thank you. So soft skills. I don't know if you know what that is, but in our country that just means the kinds of social skills people need in order to succeed on the job. You know, if you go in and you don't shake hands and you say the wrong thing, or you're not dressed well, or you didn't bathe and you're smelling, you're not making eye contact, these are all soft skill issues, and they can be a tremendous barrier. Training soft skills often isn't a very useful thing to do because they depend on context. We had a gentleman with autism who we worked with for a long time to greet people in the eye and to shake their hands. And he got a job at a loading dock where nobody shook hands, and they all kind of punched each other on the shoulders and said, "Hey, how's it going?" And "Hello, my name is John." And it just wasn't good. It has to fit context. The other thing, which you heard mentioned, was social relationships and natural supports. Again, I can spend hours just talking about this alone and how important it is, but we focus on two things. One is the employer, how to make your workplace more welcoming to more kinds of people. Okay? You may not be used to people who walk different, talk different, act different, have a different set of behaviors, different experiences. How can we change things so your place will work for more kinds of employees? And how do we help the worker, so the employer and the worker, remember, always two customers, how do we help the worker fit in? And there are lots of ways we do that. What we found, familiarity breeds social connections. And it doesn't take much. You know, in my country, we have license plates that go with each state. And when you're driving out of state, and I live in Florida, and you're far away, and I'm driving across the country, if a car goes by with a license plate that says Florida, stupidly, I'm waving at the car, looking to see if I know the person. 12 million people live in Florida. I'm going to know the person. What do we have in common? A license plate. Yet, we will pull over at a rest stop and hug each other and say, "Hi, where are you from?" Familiarity opens doors. And so if it's a soccer team, you know, your football, if it's a sport, if it's dress, if it's food, a pet, something that can make people connect, it's important for us to try to do that. Teasing and humor is a big one because that's one of the most sophisticated skills there is. Have you ever seen somebody misinterpret teasing and get into a lot of trouble for that? You know, we've had a lot of those kinds of problems. And it's one of the number one ranked behaviors in the workplace is being teased and telling jokes. So that is another area we try to do. I have many stories about that, but we don't have time. So let me wrap up here by talking a little bit about what I presented in a very short time. You know, and I'm used to doing all-day trainings, so I covered this very, very rapidly, and my apologies for that. But I wanted to give you a taste of where we're going with our technology and our approaches to trying to help people succeed. And this last couple years, we've really seen some significant gains in our country on making what we call employment first happen. So separating the myths from the facts. Get away from getting stuck in labels. I don't ever want to hear people that I work with describe people by labels. And this is an example I did with training a group of human service workers. I said, okay, here's this person, MJ. They need to reduce noncompliance and other maladaptive behaviors. They are a sexual exhibitionist, so they sometimes can really get out of line with that. Uncontrollable tongue thrusting, also skips childlike. They think that maybe it's Tourette's, we don't know. Unpredictable, needs to be the center of attention, dark urges, views women as objects. Who in hell is going to hire this person? They have weak social skills. Look at all these issues. Everyone I talk to says they are not ready to work, requires long-term skill training, maybe a sheltered workshop, unemployable. Well, right? We would take Mick Jagger and we would put him into a workshop and train the heck out of him. I had one group told me, I said, write a treatment program for this, and they came up with Listerine, you know, that spray. So every time he would skip around and stick his tongue out, they would follow him around, spray Listerine out. Poor Mick Jagger. Can you imagine what we would have done to him? It's a miracle they didn't fall into our system. All right, the problem is there are a lot of barriers to do what I said we need to do. The barriers are the way we fund, the way we train, the competencies our staffing have, families and job seekers themselves, because we've taught them, you don't need to do this, it's too hard, or it's too scary, or it's too risky, or there are disincentives all over the place. Our business relationships, a lot of them are based on charity, as opposed to write us a check and help us out, as opposed to this is a benefit to you, you're going to gain from this opportunity. Our structures, our organization, our transportation, this is not what you want to hear, but it all needs to change. Isn't it great when you can hire somebody from the United States, come in, drop a bomb, and then they fly away, leaving you to clean up the mess? But this is what we're dealing with too. So organizations and staff, it's all about the culture, our employment culture. What is it that we do to get people into work? Do we put people in buildings and get them ready? Do we throw people into a job because there's an opening we found? Or do we plan, match, and support? So organizations and staff have to be focused on, so many different skill sets to make this work. Families and individuals need to be taught this is something you should expect. Employment is real. It can work. It can happen. Our ability to do good marketing, to do good training, doing a task analysis, doing a structural analysis, doing an efficiency analysis, all those kinds of things to make employers understand we know what you're dealing with. And in our policies, we need to reward people who are getting people jobs and not having them be at the bottom of the poll. We need to be paying people for doing a good job getting people jobs and not just taking care of people. It's not enough to get people out of an institution and into a house if they don't have a life in that house. It's not enough to have a job if they don't like the job and they're not good at it. So this is a very challenging situation. Some recommendations are to set clear goals from your policymakers and then help people realize it with support. We use data systems in certain parts of the country now where we describe what organizations are doing and how they're doing it. So anybody can look it up publicly and see how people perform. And the agencies that aren't performing either get in trouble or get help, because that's the way systems will change. Okay, so public data can do wonders. We educate about the possibilities of work. So we want to make sure everyone understands work is not only realistic, it's expected. It's the primary expectation you have coming out of school or any other situation. We want employers to understand the value of hiring diversity. It helps your business the more kinds of people you have working for you. It represents your customer base. And educating people to that is very challenging. So basically, you got to understand, some of the things I've had to say are difficult to hear for some people. And that's why we call it innovation. It disrupts the status quo. It's never easy to hear. There is something called cognitive commitment. Comfort with the familiar. There's a famous experiment where if you put flies in a jar and you seal the jar and you let them fly around for a day and then you unseal the jar, they won't fly out. Okay, that's cognitive commitment. We think we have to do it because this is the way the world is. It's hard to break out of cognitive commitment. I had a woman who told me when I was in London about how her husband would come home to tend the garden in London, and one day he was out there working in the garden, he heard an owl hoot, and he was so excited, and he hooted back, and the owl hooted back, and this was the best thing he had ever heard, and so happy, and so every night at the same time, he would go out and hoot at the owl, and the owl would go back, and she said this made his day, and so about a month or two go by, and she's having tea with some of the ladies in the neighborhood, and she tells the story, and the woman across from her looks at her and says, "Oh my God, my husband does the exact same thing." Turns out these two guys were hooting to each other. And even when they were confronted with that fact, they both said, I don't care what you say, don't you think I know it now when I hear it? And they're still hooting to this day. And that's cognitive commitment. Or rationalization. Even when faced with conflicting evidence, we want to cling to what we're comfortable with. That's the hardest one of all, isn't it? So let me just end by saying I've given a lot of thought to how in a short amount of time I can try to present you with little bits of information that hopefully you'll be able to take home with you. But it involves willing to listen and then implement new ideas. And that is the hardest thing, absolutely the hardest thing to do. Okay? You know, there's an old story of this island off the coast of Japan where there was a native population of monkeys. And scientists studied them and they had named some of the monkeys. And there was a drought, and so they airlifted some sweet potatoes onto the island for the monkeys to survive. And so the monkey community is very hierarchical and very structured, and the monkeys would all run out and get the sweet potatoes and run back and, you know, kind of selfishly guard them and eat them. But, you know, they were dropped on the beach and they were full of sand, so the monkeys didn't like that. You know, they'd spit out the sand. Well, one young monkey they had named Emo ran out got her sweet potatoes and ran back into the jungle and went to a stream and put them in a stream to hide them. And when she took them out, she noticed they were delicious. They were clean. And pretty soon Emo's family and sisters were following her and doing the same thing. So the scientists were very excited about this, and they said, let's watch what happens when an innovation is introduced. So this innovation was copied by the whole monkey tribe, except for the last 5 or 6 monkeys. Who do you think those monkeys were? The monkeys in charge, who happened to be male, but that's not the point. But the head monkeys would rather eat sand than try to have something new. So when you go home, when they ask you, what did you learn at the conference, you can say, don't eat the sand. Try something new. Thank you very much. Have a great conference. Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dave, for a very, very inspiring speech. As a sign of appreciation for you coming here, you will have a book.
Something.
And always when the speaker receives a book, the audience is very curious. Which book is it? It's the Lars Mytting Hel Ved. And the reason why they are laughing is because this was a young Norwegian. He wanted to be a poet, but all his attempts to write sort of serious novels, they failed. So he decided to write a book about chopping firewood. And the book became an enormous success. And all those literature critics, they couldn't explain it. But the reason for that, his success, and the reason why we will give it to you, is that this book can be read in 2 ways, just like supported employment. The first reading is that you can look upon it as a kind of instructions, as a manual in chopping and handling and stacking wood. But basically, it's a book about reconciling work and quality of life.
Great.
I think that was very much the content
Wonderful.
of your speech.
Exactly.
So thank you very much.
Thank you. Again.
Thank you.
Okay.
Da går vi videre. Nestemann går løs på det som kanskje er en av de mest inngrodde forestillingene. Dale snakket mye om hvordan inngrodde forestillinger hindrer oss fra å tenke nytt. Den inngrodde forestillingen som Håkon Høst går løs på nå, er forestillingen om at bare du gir folk skole, bare du gir folk formell utdanning, så vil de komme inn i arbeid. Du har gjennom din forskning og formidling alltid vært litt skeptisk til det, Du liker å riste i inngrodde forestillinger, så veldig flott, Håkon, at du ville komme her. Vær så god.
Ja, tusen takk for at jeg ble invitert. Når jeg sa ja, så var jeg ikke klar over at det var en så stor og kompetent forsamling her. Jeg så liksom for meg sånn 2-3 bord, jeg. Men det er jeg veldig glad for, at jeg får lov til å snakke her. Det jeg skal snakke om mest det som jeg sier altså lærdommer fra forsøket med praksisbrev i arbeidslivet, som sikkert ganske mange av dere vet hva kanskje ikke alle, det skal jeg si litt mer om. Men det jo selvfølgelig også ispedd mye av det jeg har hentet fra annen forskning jeg har gjort, som jo veldig mye handler om forholdet mellom utdanningssystem og arbeidsliv i Norge, og veldig mye da på dette nivået videregående opplæring og yrkesopplæring. Jeg skal vi se på denne her. Det jo sånn at tallene for hvor mange som gjennomfører yrkesopplæring i Norge innenfor det man sier normert tid, eller ja, man bruker 5 år som en beregning. Det jo 4 år jo den vanlige opplæringsløpet, med 2 år i skole og 2 år i bedrift. Jo ikke så høyt som vi skulle ønske. Og det en veldig tett og vedvarende sammenheng mellom sosial bakgrunn og gjennomføring av videregående opplæring. Så det vel ikke til å nekte at det over tid har ført til en form for pessimisme blant mange. Kanskje vi like greit skulle senke kravene hvis vi ikke får folk igjennom. Det vel noen som lurer på. Og veldig mange jo opptatt av nettopp dette med at vi må i hvert fall for Guds skyld holde folk i skolen lengst mulig, hindre dem i å droppe ut. Tja. Enhetsskolen i Norge, og i og for seg vi kan inkludere de andre nordiske landene, mer og mindre, det jo et form for demokratisk prosjekt. Alle skal ha gratis utdanning, likest mulig utdanning, for å si det sånn, lengst mulig. Og denne enhetsskolen har jo blitt utvidet opp gjennom årene. Og gjennom Reform 94 så ble den utvidet kanskje for siste gang. Og da fikk man jo en sammensmelting mellom yrkesopplæring og gymnas, eller det heter da videregående utdanning. Og i stor grad så fikk vi en form for teoriskole, ikke bare for grunnskolen, men også de 2 første årene på videregående. Så vi fikk jo 12 år, kanskje, for alle, og 13 for de som tok studiekompetanse. Og en begrunnelse har jo vært at alle jobber vil etter hvert kreve mer teoretisk utdanning. Før dette så hadde vi jo og vi har det egentlig til viss grad fortsatt, det vi kan si en blandingsmodell i videregående opplæring. Vi hadde 3 veier inn i arbeidslivet for ungdom på dette nivået. Det var det å bare gå fra skolen og ut og finne seg en jobb, som veldig mange gjorde. Det var det å ta en form for yrkesutdanning i skole, som man hadde innenfor handel og kontor, innenfor helse og sosial og så videre, og så deretter søke jobb. Og så var det en lærlingordning som var ganske beskjeden, men som var i vekst. Og Reform 94, gjennom den reformen, så besluttet jo politikerne at det var det siste vi skulle satse på. Det skulle bli den universelle modellen for yrkesopplæring i Norge. Det var en modell, en særnorsk modell, med 2 år i skole, etterfulgt av 2 år i lære. Og tanken var jo det at dette skulle til for å bygge bro inn i arbeidslivet for ungdom. Men de måtte ha mer teori, ellers var de sjanseløse på arbeidsmarkedet. Det var en rådende oppfatning. Normen om videregående opplæring, den sterk og har bare vokst seg sterkere. Det bidrar til, ved siden av mye annet, til at alle stort sett begynner på videregående etter grunnskolen. Og i dagens system så det jo sånn at hvis du ikke der, så du dropout. Selv om du skulle være i fulltidsarbeid når du 17-18 år, så du dropout. Spørsmålet jo da om skolen er det beste for alle 16-åringer. Slik lærlingordningen har vært praktisert etter Reform 94, så har det vært lettere faktisk for ungdom som er på den alderen der, altså under 18 år, å få jobb enn en lærekontrakt. Man skulle ha disse 2 årene i skole, og så skulle man ut i lære. Disse tallene er ikke helt oppdatert, men ut fra registerdata i 2008, tror jeg det var, så var det blant 15-åringer 462 sysselsatte faktisk, og ingen lærlinger. Det var nesten 1400 sysselsatte 16-åringer, hvorav 75 var lærlinger. Altså lærlinger er også sysselsatte. Og 17-åringer så var det nesten 3000 sysselsatte, hvorav 438 lærlinger. Og først når man ble 18, så begynte dette her å endre seg, ved at de fleste som var sysselsatt, de var lærlinger. Så det var altså lettere å komme ut i arbeidslivet uten å være lærling hvis man var under 18. Men hvordan ser egentlig yrkesutdanningen normalmodellen, hvis man ikke bare snakker om modellen sett fra systemets side, men hvordan de faktisk gjennomfører ut? Altså, tanken var jo å lage en yrkesopplæring som var helt parallell til den teoretiske videregående skolen. Dette skulle man gjennomføre i alderen 16 til 19 år. Disse tallene er fra 2008, men de er nok ikke veldig endret. Og da ser vi her at hvis vi sammenligner yrkesfaglige studieforberedende, så ser vi at på studieforberedende så går jo de aller fleste, altså de fullfører i normalalderen. Og så er det jo liksom noen som slenger som kommer etter. Men i yrkesutdanning så er det helt annerledes. Der er det en bolk som kommer ut på en måte gjennom normalløpet, og så fortsetter rett utover med veldig mange som etter hvert tar yrkesutdanning, formell yrkesutdanning senere i livet. Det ble i fjor avlagt nesten 26 000 fagbrev i Norge. Av disse var det rundt 10 000 blant ungdom opp til 20 år, til og med 20 år, og 5 000 cirka i alderen 21 til 24, og 11 000 over 25 år. Det illustrerer jo på en måte eller dokumenterer, hva skal jeg si, den forrige illustrasjonen. Altså fagbrev er noe som man tar over en lang periode. Det er ikke forbeholdt en ungdomsfase, selv om det var det man forsøkte på en måte å få til ved Reform 94. Så er det jo sånn at det viser jo det at til tross for at man har laget en normal modell, så siver jo ungdom inn i arbeidslivet. Det er ikke sånn at de over 50% som ikke fullfører på normal tid, at de havner ut i det store svarte hullet og er dropouts og fortapte, ligger hjemme og så videre. Nei, de siver jo inn i arbeidslivet. De aller fleste av dem siver inn i arbeidslivet, for noen tar det lengre tid enn andre. Men så er det jo sånn at vi kan kanskje ikke være helt fornøyd med et system hvor så mange ikke kommer gjennom det som på en måte skal være den normale ordningen for yrkesopplæring. Forsøket med praksisbrev, det var jo da et veldig, hva skal jeg si for noe, prioritert tiltak mot frafall i videregående. Det tok lang tid å bli enige om det. Det handler i korthet ut om at 16-åringer får begynne i arbeid i en bedrift framfor å begynne på skolebenken som 16-åringer. Som ansatte, ikke som utplasserte i praksis. Og de er fortsatt under videregående opplæring. For at bedriftene skulle være velvillige, så fikk de ekstra tilskudd. Og de skulle da ha ungdommene ansatt i 2 år på en sånn praksiskandidatordning. De var altså ikke formelt lærlinger, men det er klart en form for lærlinger var de jo. De skulle gå på skolen 1 dag i uka, disse ungdommene. Og når de var ferdig med den 2-årsperioden, så skulle de enten avslutte med praksisbrev og ferdig med det, eller de kunne søke lærekontrakt. Dette forsøket, det omfattet rundt 50, i hvert fall de som var registrert hos oss, og vi fulgte dette gjennom forsøksperioden. Det var et lite forsøk på mange måter, men det provoserte mange. Fordi det berørte mange ulike typer interesser og oppfatninger. LO oppfattet vel at dette kunne true fagarbeidernivået. Nå får vi plutselig ut en hel haug som bare tar 2 års praksisbrev, og så får vi en form for faglig og sosial dumping. Noen fylker oppfattet at utdanningsretten ble utvannet gjennom at man kunne avslutte med praksisbrev etter 2 år, og dermed ikke få 3 års opplæring, selv om man hadde krav på det i og for seg. Og noen mente også at dette kunne bli for krevende for ungdom. Det var særlig dette med den ambisjonen om at flest mulig skulle gå videre til vanlig lærekontrakt og fullt fagbrev. Det mente mange var feil. Og noen betvilte også bedriftenes evne til å ta seg av ungdom som ikke klarer å tilpasse seg skolen. Da klarer de heller ikke tilpasse seg arbeidslivet, og arbeidslivet kan ikke vise den omsorg for elevene som skolen gjør. Så på mange måter så kan vi også bruke dette praksisbrevet og dette forsøket som en slags sånn prisme til å se hvordan ulike interesser, oppfatninger strides, men også hvordan disse systemene vi har egentlig virker. Altså, hva er forholdet mellom utdanningssystemets krav og arbeidslivets behov? Er det urimelig at man forlanger at folk skal gjennomføre videregående når man har hundretusener av jobber for ufaglærte i Norge? Eller er det på den andre siden er det sånn at fagopplæringens kvalitetskrav skal offres, at man innfører enklere løp og så videre for å løse skolens frafallsproblemer? Sett fra skolesiden så er det jo også sånn at man kunne stille spørsmål om det er sånn at mange av elevene er så svake at målene må nedjusteres, eller man på den andre siden om man kanskje da faktisk må se på organiseringen av opplæringen. Og praksisbrevet er jo egentlig et forsøk på det siste. Det var ulike syn på hva dette skulle være, ulike perspektiver for å betrakte også forsøket. Det kunne være en praktisk vei, ses som en praktisk vei for de som bare skal sikte mot en kompetanse på lavere nivå. Det kan ses som en alternativ vei til fullt fagbrev for de som sliter med dagens ordning, men som kan klare det med en mer praktisk ordning. Eller man kan se det bare som en alternativ praktisk vei, hvor man kobler elever som står i fare for å droppe ut, med bedrifter, og så får det gå som det går videre. Det var også stor åpenhet i iverksettingen. Det var fylker som gjorde det på ulike vis, og det var ulike måter hvordan skolene la det til rette, og det var også forskjeller mellom fagområder. Men hvordan gikk det? Det gikk jo egentlig veldig bra, dette forsøket. De fleste kandidatene de fikk raskt en praksisplass. Et fylke klarte ikke det, og måtte etablere bedrift innenfor skolens regi. Eller så var det forskjeller mellom fylker som kan knyttes til fagopplæringstradisjoner, organisering, nettverk og kultur. Men både de ungdommene som kom ut i bedrift, og de ungdommene som var i skolens egen bedrift, fullførte perioden. Så å si alle kandidatene fullførte praksisperioden, altså bortsett fra de som gikk over til andre opplæringsløp underveis, som angret og ønsket seg opp på noe annet. Det var et veldig lavt frafall. Så etter dette praksisbrevet så var det faktisk også sånn at de fleste gikk videre til full lærekontrakt. Her blir det mye tall, men av de rundt 50 så var det rundt 40 som gjennomførte perioden. Det var altså ikke et frafall på 10, det var kanskje et par som falt fra i form av at de ikke var i opplæring etter hvert. Men de andre gikk til annen type opplæring. Men av de som fullførte så var det rundt 30 stykker som søkte lærekontrakt, og det var 25 som fikk avtale med lærekontrakt. Når vi sluttet det, så var vi på det nivået at de hadde fått avtale. Vi kunne ikke følge opp om denne ble iverksatt. Det ble den nok for de aller fleste. Og de resterende de spredte seg ut på forskjellige ting. Elever, fortsatt noen gikk rett ut i arbeid, noen var i militæret. Et par var ledige. En klarte vi ikke å få registrert. Sånn sett så var det en suksess. Man skal være tilbakeholden med å sammenligne. Det er et veldig lite utvalg. Men det er jo likevel litt fristende, da. Når halvparten av de som startet opp en praksisbrev i 2008, fikk lærekontrakt etter 2 år. Hvor mange er det som begynner på ordinær opplæringsløp i yrkesopplæring som gjør det? Jo, det er rundt 30%. Og det er klart at det viser jo noen svakheter ved også yrkesopplæringen i Norge. Kan du si at de utover de 30%, så det kanskje også 20% som går til påbygning. Men av dem så det jo også mange som ikke fullfører. Hvis man sammenligner formidlingen, altså overgang fra skole til arbeidsliv, eller fra praksisbrev eller fra skole til lærekontrakt, eller fra praksisbrev til lærekontrakt, så var det også sånn at praksisbrevelevene kom mye bedre ut. Men igjen et lite utvalg. Og det var mange flere utenfor opplæring etterpå, blant de ordinære, som fulgte ordinær yrkesopplæring, enn de som fulgte dette opplegget. Kan man så forutsi kapasitetene til elever som 16 år? Eller kan de forutse det selv? Hvis vi ser på deres egne ambisjoner, når vi spurte når de begynte, så var det 21 av kandidatene som sa at jeg tror jeg skal stoppe med praksisbrev etter 2 år, for det fullt fagbrev det for vanskelig for meg. 2 år etterpå så var det 13 av disse 21 som faktisk søkte læreplass, og 10 av dem fikk det. Ekspertenes vurdering var jo gjerne at de som da, i dette tilfellet var 18 stykker, som hadde med seg strykkarakter, fra ungdomsskolen, de ble spådd små muligheter for å gjennomføre. Men vi fant ingen forskjell på de som hadde strykkarakterer eller ikke strykkarakterer når det gjaldt fullføring av dette løpet. Det altså andre ting som har vært mye viktigere. Og kandidatenes egne vurderinger var overveiende positive. Og det de særlig var fornøyd med, det var jo det å få komme ut i bedrift og jobbe framfor å være i skolen. Det var nesten helt entydig. Mange opplevde for første gang i sin utdanningstid at de fikk positive tilbakemeldinger, at de fikk til noe, at de betydde noe. Mange av dem hadde gått på skolen i årevis og bare fått ulike former for tilbakemeldinger, etter hvert karakterer, på at de ikke dugde. Det klart, det var et voldsomt løft for disse ungdommene. Og det ga også en effekt at mange av de ble mer positive til fellesfagene. Det var ganske interessant å se. Så selv om de var på skolen en dag i uka, så det var greit å være på skolen en dag i uka, og noen syntes også det var ganske moro. Og mer moro enn det hadde vært før de begynte på dette opplegget. Bedriftene var også stort sett fornøyd, og sa de ville benytte ordningen igjen. Det kan man jo gjerne si, men det viktigste beviset, på en måte, eller den viktigste dokumentasjonen her, det jo egentlig at så mange bedrifter valgte å ansette sine praksisbrevkandidater som lærlinger etterpå, i konkurranse med lærlinger eller søkere fra skolen. Det viser jo at de faktisk mener alvor, at de mener at dette nyttig ungdom. Dette ungdom som de kan bruke i sin bedrift, og som de har tro på kan bli fagarbeidere. Det var selvsagt en del arbeid, kanskje mer for mange, med de ungdommene, til å begynne med særlig, enn de hadde trodd. Og det klart de kommer ut som 16-åringer. Mange av dem hadde ikke veldig mye erfaring fra arbeidslivet. Og de var fornøyd med en sånn støtte fra skolen, med en kontaktlærerfunksjon. De fleste av bedriftene var små. Noen av dem var helt nye som lærebedrifter, så det hadde faktisk en viss sånn rekrutteringseffekt også i forhold til arbeidslivet. Men helt klart, dette var ikke veldedighet. Dette var noe bedriften var med på fordi de hadde tro på at dette kunne gi dem nyttig arbeidskraft, som de hadde behov for. Skolene var litt mer delt. Noen var positive, lærerne, andre mer kritiske. De fleste var nok enige at dette motvirker frafall, men mange mente at det kreves mye mer ressurser for å få dette til å fungere enn det de hadde. Og man mente kanskje ikke kravene i fellesfagene var for høye, men at det krevde veldig mye. Dette å få til en yrkesretting, dette å undervise i små grupper for å få elevene gjennom fellesfagene, noe de da fikk til. Men med stor innsats, som de selv oppsummerer det. Også skepsis selvfølgelig blant en del fellesfaglærere. Hvor langt kan man gå i å yrkesrette disse fellesfagene før de på en måte blir veldig utvannet, og før de på en måte føler at de ikke lever opp til de standardene de må ha i forhold til mulig studiekompetanse videre, men også i forhold til yrkeskompetansen. Det som viktig her, det jo å se at dette her jo ikke noe som fungerer uavhengig av strukturer utenfor skolen. Det sånn at fagopplæringen etablerer noen strukturer i arbeidslivet som denne praksisbrevordningen kan nyte godt av, hekte seg på. Det er noen felles opplæringsløp, standarder, normer. Det er fagarbeidere som forbilder. Sosialisering til arbeid. Man utvikler identitet og tilhørighet. Det er ordninger som på en måte hjelper disse ungdommene inn i arbeidslivet på en måte som ikke skjer så enkelt der man ikke har den type strukturer. Og disse strukturene har jo ulik styrke innenfor ulike bransjer, som vi vet, og innenfor ulike deler av landet. Og det så vi også utslag av. Så ser vi at praksisbrevordningen da har bidratt til å koble lite skolemotiverte 16-åringer og 17-åringer sitt ønske om praktisk arbeid og opplæring til bedriftenes behov for arbeidskraft. Så her er det jo faktisk en form for sånn vinn-vinn-ordning. Og som jeg sa, en del av disse bedriftene de hadde ikke vært lærebedrifter tidligere. Og begge deler antyder jo potensial for utvidelse av fagopplæring i bedrift. Som jeg tror er en viktig lærdom utover selve forsøket og utover målgruppen. Men som sagt igjen, her er det viktig at skolen har et nettverk i forhold til bedrifter, og det har de gjerne der hvor fagopplæringen har en viss tradisjon. Og her var det stor forskjell på fylker. Og vi så jo da at det var ikke alle som fikk det til. Man koblet ikke alle fylker dette til fagopplæringen en gang innad i fylkeskommunen, men lot opplæringsavdelingen, så skoledelen av opplæringsavdelingen ta seg av det. Man hadde ulik tilgang på læreplasser, og måtte da, som sagt, et fylke bruke eller etablere sin egen bedrift. Og det er klart, om de fikk praksis og trivdes med det, så kom jo ikke de i kontakt med arbeidslivet. De fikk ikke et fotfeste i arbeidslivet, sånn som de elevene som var ute i lære gjorde. Og så var det ulik politikk i forhold til dette. Noen mente at dette skal være et første steg mot fagbrev, at det skal være hovedordningen, mens andre holdt igjen og sa at vi må ikke liksom sette målene for høyt. Vi må si at det er praksisbrev som skal være målet. Og de hadde heller ikke noe beredskap i forhold til hva som skulle skje med disse når de var ferdige. De som da mente at praksisbrevet skulle stå for seg selv, de gjorde heller ikke noe da for å formidle de ut til lærekontrakt. Og de ble overlatt til seg selv, eller eventuelt til deres etat. Men som sagt, her var det positive effekter av praktisk arbeid også for de som ikke fikk lærekontrakt, men det var stor forskjell etter praksisbrevet på hvordan man klarte å komme seg videre. Jeg tror at det er viktige deler ved selve denne her modellen som har et potensial for å gi en bedre gjennomføring innenfor yrkesopplæringen, og langt utover den opprinnelige målgruppen. Nå er det en stund siden dette forsøket, men fremdeles er dette en prøveordning, og det viser jo det at dette her er ikke enkelt. Det er politisk omtvistet, det er ulike aktører som ser litt ulikt på det, og fylkeskommunene er ambivalente. De oppfatter nok at transaksjonskostnadene er for store. Det å drive en sånn unntaksmodell ved siden av hovedmodellen, det koster mye ressurser, de konkurrerer om læreplasser med hovedordningen og så videre. Men tankene, altså dette med å få ungdom tidligere ut i arbeidslivet, har jo bare siden det forsøket ble gjennomført, bredd om seg ganske mye. Man ser det i ulike varianter. Man ser det i mer praksis i VG1 og VG2, man ser det i vekslingsmodell og så videre. Det er helt åpenbart at ikke bare de som sliter på skolen, men også en del av de som klarer seg greit, kan ha stor nytte av og stor gevinst av det å komme tidligere ut i arbeidslivet. Men for denne gruppa, som jeg her snakker om, så er det i hvert fall ikke noe tvil om at dette ga et voldsomt løft, at dette var noe man burde satse på. Men som sagt, her er det mange ting som må på plass før man får dette til i praktisk politikk. Takk.
Flott. Tusen takk skal du ha. Før du kom I dag, tror jeg, så snakket både arbeidsministeren og Nav-direktøren om den utfordringen som I det norske systemet nå, om å komme fra vellykkede forsøk I små skala til en ny og generell praksis. Jeg opplever at du ga en fin analyse av en del hindre for nettopp å få til dette som et element på en måte I systemet vårt. Både for å sikre at folk blir kvalifisert, og for at de kommer inn I arbeidslivet, og fordi at de kommer inn I samfunnet. Tusen takk skal du ha, Håkon. En liten gave å ta med hjem. Takk. Flott. Da har vi kommet til litt sånn taktskifte I konferansen. Nå det en pause fram til 4. Så begynner parallellsesjonene. Og da må jeg være litt streng. Dere har meldt dere på sesjoner, og jeg ber om at dere holder dere til det. Og grunnen til det at vi helt I kanten av hva liksom kapasitet og rom og sånn kan tåle her. Så dere må være lojale mot de valgene dere har fattet. Da det gruppearbeid eller grupper, altså I dag, og det fortsetter også I morgen. Alle må ta med seg alle tingene sine ut av denne salen nå, fordi det blir middag her I kveld. Så foregår alle parallellsesjonene I annen etasje, og det litt sånn trangt på vei opp, så utstyr dere med litt god tid. Så det middag klokka 8, og I god norsk tradisjon så må dere kjøpe alkoholen selv, mens maten blir spandert. Og så minner jeg om, liten reklame her nå, en ekstra forestilling I tråd med tradisjonen på disse konferansene I Europa 1, det et eller annet sted rundt her, klokken 17:45. Da vil Liv Grete Kinn fra Høgskolen I Bergen fortelle om sin forskning under titelen «Arbeidslivet som en skøytebane». Men det en som brenner med noe mer praktisk her som jeg... Ja, 2 paralleller også her, men det 4 paralleller som I annen etasje. Ok, da sier vi takk for skiftet så langt.